Hi, Jenny Morrison here with The Important Work. I'm so excited to share this workshop with you. It's going to completely renegotiate your relationship with time. I'm going to give you some really cool pointers here throughout this particular workshop. They're going to help you to recognize how your mindset might actually be your biggest block. So we'll get into that in just a minute, but I wanted to let you know who I am and also other resources available to you in addition to this workshop. So you've received a PowerPoint, a video, and 2 exercises. Don't start the exercises yet. I'll come back and show you inside the video where to work on those. And then just so you know who I am, I have a PhD, public administration, public management, org behavior, do a lot of work with people inside of organizations over the last 30 years, as well as I've been an educator teaching master's level coursework. So do lots of work with personal development, leadership development, team processes, etc. So you're in great hands with me. I am now a transformational coach. I'm the founder of The Important Work, and I'm really passionate about time management. It's something that I had to really work on in my life. I'm a single mom, and so I had a lot of thoughts in my mind, beliefs, what we'll call paradigms in this workshop, referring to thoughts I had, such as single moms can't step into leadership positions, single moms can't take a tenure track academic position, single moms can't get ahead financially, right? Some of those very specific belief systems kept me from stepping into action that led to me not achieving all that I wanted to achieve. Over time, as I became trained in a number of coaching methods, and this work today is being inspired by something called the Handel Method, as well as the Brave Thinking Institute, where's my transformational coaching certification comes from. And then, my 25 plus years of practice and research in this field. So you'll see that you're in great hands. And I also wanted to let you know you do have access to a range of other coaching content with The Important Work. So I invite you to look at our website, theimportantwork.com, if this kind of transformational work is appealing to you, because this is just a first step into a whole set of programs. My most favorite thing to do is work with people to take them through our 12-week Dream Builder series. We're launching a whole new set of videos and amazing content. So if you're interested, sign up for a discovery session on the contact page of our website. We'll get you, signed up for something like that. We've got plenty of payment plans. But anyway, enough of my promo for other content. I just want you to know it's available. You also have the option to reach out and email me at any point in this workshop if you need some help, and I will do my best to help you. But we may need to set up some extra time, but let's just see what we can do there for you. So I'm so excited you're here, and I want to go over a few principles with you related to this programming before we get going, so you've got a good foundation for where we're headed. So before we get going, I want to go over some core principles that will lead you to the greatest success with this material. To start with, I want you to have a sense of a vision of where you're headed. Now, if you've bought the 4-part series, the second video is all about going through a structured vision development process. But for now, make sure that before you start designing your days, you know where you're trying to get. The second thing is we do want you to have a daily roadmap. I will go over that in much more detail in the third video in the complete series, where you're going to really redesign your calendar, but you want to have every day a sense of the core things you need to achieve. So instead of looking at a to-do list, we're thinking about the results you want to achieve, okay? The other thing that's really going to be important is that you've got an opportunity here for immersion and repetition. So use this video and the exercises to really go deep, ask yourself the really important questions you need to ask right now, and then stick with this for a number of days until you begin to feel like you're mastering some of these techniques that I'll be sharing. The next thing that's really important is that you have a degree of personal agency. And what do I mean by personal agency? That you actually believe in yourself to make positive changes, that you can really focus on the here and now and these particular actions. You've done a great thing. You've invested the time and energy into yourself here to make a shift in your life. And so now don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the old stories or history. Just step in now and do your best. You've got everything you need to work with here to have a great win. And just remind yourself you're doing the best you can with what you have to work with. And you've got so much more potential we're going to unlock. I also, in that same vein, want you to stay committed to yourself and your dreams, because to transform to this higher level of being, you've got to push through these old habits, thoughts, attitudes, behaviors. We're going to go over the results formula in just a few slides, but really think about the fact that you are arriving here with decades of behavior and thoughts. It's going to take more than a couple days to get them shifted, but you've got the materials here, and you may watch this a couple times to really let it land, right? And then the last thing is I want you to really start getting much more aware, what we call noticing what you're noticing throughout your days. So you can begin to catch attitudes, behaviors, anything that's creating self-sabotage for you. I want you to begin to notice in real time and even taking notes for yourself. And on that note, grab some paper, a pen, maybe a little baby journal where you can keep recording things for yourself. That really helps too. I have like a little thing like this that I use to keep notes and my actions for the day. And then I have a page where I've got my vision. So whatever you're working on, get it all right in front of you and keep it front and center, because we'll talk about this more in a minute, but the distraction element, especially in this day and age, is so high. There are a few more secret sauce elements that I'm able to provide you as a coach that I want to go over. The first one is helping you figure out the self-limiting beliefs. I alluded to those in the last screen, but there's some things that you may be doing or thinking that derail your commitment to yourself over and over again. And I mentioned a couple of examples from my own life, but it may sound something like, I have adult ADHD, so I can't get organized, or I'm too overloaded. So we'll go over this in a minute, but really be noticing what you tell yourself about what you can and cannot accomplish. The second thing I do that's such a special secret sauce element for you is I'm your partner in believing. I'm going to keep you going through this process until you tap into your capacity. You may not have the ability yet, but I know you have the capacity. And I work with so many people that just need a little bit of a push here, the believing piece, right? A little faith, and move through this experience. So stick with it. And then again, I'm also your accountability partner, right? I'm going to help you stay in action as you build this muscle of integrity and you really begin to experience your own power. So the 3 principles of transformation that are going to be the most important are understanding that your relationship to time is your relationship to your life. Okay. The way in which you are working through your day, experiencing your day, is how you are relating to your life. So stop for a minute and think about how you would describe your relationship with time. Do you have days that are calm, productive, joyful, grounded? Are you feeling relational, impactful? Or are you feeling more frenetic, overloaded, overwhelmed, exhausted, some level of dysfunction in your day? We need to shift that, right? So if you're having that experience over and over again, it's going to be really hard to shift. So the other thing I want you to do is really focus on identifying your energy and paradigms around time and noticing what both are costing you. What is your presence? How are you showing up at work, in your home, with the people closest to you? If you're always stressed, always rushing, always a little cranky, these are the things we need to shift. And knowing what the costs are. Is it keeping you from deeper relationships, more effectiveness at work, being seen as a true leader? Got to get really clear about that. Okay. And the third principle for transformation is getting you to really tell the truth about time. Get honest about where you're wasting it. And again, the cost. So I'm constantly engaging with people say, oh, I have no time. And then we quickly figure out all kinds of ways to put more time into your calendar by just reorganizing your day and helping you stay in integrity to your calendar. Now, we do a lot of that prioritization process in part 2 of the series if you've bought it, and then really rework your calendar completely in part 3 of the series. But I'm going to give you the basics here today in this workshop to help you get going. Okay. So that today is all about assessment and evaluation, right? And then reworking some of your basics. So I'm going to help you step into your power as your designer self. I'm going to help you renegotiate any attitudes where you're feeling bratty. There's some beliefs like, I don't want to have too much schedule. It affects my creativity or my spontaneity. That's just a myth, because I'm going to actually create more time for self-care, rest, play, etc. You might say like, I'm just exhausted on the weekends and I'm too tired to do anything, so I need lots of time on the couch. Well, we'll figure out why you're getting to that point of exhaustion and rework it, right? It takes some time, but we'll get there. And then I also want you to really believe that you can create a really beautiful relationship with time, with your schedule, with your days. And that's essential to be able to step into being, the person of your dreams and have the life of your dreams. Okay. And the last thing is, I really want you to be thinking about your important work, right? It's the name of my business, but it's also essential to get clear on what are the most important activities that you want to have on your calendar moving forward, because this will really impact how we go forward with the design. So those are a couple things to start, thinking about in your head as we move to the next piece. Okay, well, now that I've given you a little bit of preparation content, let's get right into the meat of this workshop. You're going to learn a powerful results formula that's going to help guide your actions to start aligning your days with your vision. I'm going to teach you how to monitor and adjust your thoughts and emotions to stay in powerful action. And the reason we're doing that is as you stay in action consistently aligned with your dream, you're going to have great results. You're going to have a real shift in your dynamism, your, energy levels, etc. You'll see the shift. I call it an invisible line. You'll cross an invisible line as you begin to work with this methodology. And again, a lot of this is just your mindset. The next parts of these series really do the actual reconstruction of vision and calendar. But right now, I really want you to get clear on how you're using your time and then start to help you evolve the basics in terms of how you're evolving, the relationship with time. So we're going to start. These are the 5 parts of this workshop. The results formula. I'm going to talk to you about design versus default, 2 different ways of living your life. We're going to look at some common beliefs around time. We're going to look at very specific ways people self-sabotage. I'm going to help you to put that all together and work on reframing some of these old beliefs. So part 1 here is the results formula, and this is a really powerful piece I want to share with you. It's important that you understand the underlying thoughts you hold are expressing themselves as a particular feeling state that lead to particular actions and the results. Your results never lie. So if, for instance, you have a thought that your job stinks and it gives you a feeling of, frustration or, even lethargy towards getting up and going to work, the presence that you show up with at your job is going to have a particular result called, oh, Bobby's not really showing up like he cares about the job, right? That's not the result you want, but that's where you're headed. You may be dreaming of a different position, getting another job, etc. But right now, in this very moment, this is how you're showing up. So we got to work on shifting that. We're gonna go do more examples of this inside the workshop, but I want you to notice what you're noticing in terms of creating new results. I want you to really begin to put some of these thoughts that you're having onto paper and notice what feeling state is after them, and then notice how you act, right? If I wake up and I'm frustrated with my children because they didn't do the dishes they were supposed to do at bedtime, then I immediately am frustrated and angry. The action I have is probably yelling at them. First thing is they're getting out of bed, and what's the result? we have a bad day. Our dynamic as a family is off. So it's this kind of work of noticing what you're noticing in real time that is going to help you to begin to unpack some of the ways in which you're showing up during your day. So we're going to come into the exercises in a few minutes, but I just want you to begin to notice some of these principles. So this result formula is, again, certain thoughts are causing a particular feeling state, which is leading to action or inaction that's leading to a result. Often people might be feeling low, feeling down, right? And I always go, what's the core thought? What's the inner dialogue in your head that's influencing that feeling state? There is always a thought. And unfortunately, about 80% plus of our thoughts are negative, and I think about 90% of them are repetitive day by day. So you see the importance of this formula. We have to get in there with the mindset, with the thoughts, and get them shifted so that the feelings shift. So that cycle of the thoughts and feelings can get calibrated, and then you're going to have different actions. Okay, so that's that piece of that. And I want to also mention something to you that's so important when you're thinking about building new results for yourself. As you're working through the materials, you're going to notice 3 tendencies. If you have arrived at this workshop and are really looking for a big transformation in your life, maybe you've signed up for this workshop because you really want to be more efficient or be more, organized with your days, or you're trying to build a new business or get more accomplished every day. These are the 3 things that show up. The first one is delay or distraction. So we're going to be talking about procrastination and avoidance. And a lot of these are just habits, right? We probably picked them up when we were 12, 13 years old, 8 years old, whatever. But we have to notice that our voice inside our head will say, oh, do this later. Oh, we can do this next week. And that's why the work around organizing your day, designing your day when you wake up in the morning, and not just do it as a to-do list, but I'm trying to achieve these results, and then get it calendared, put it on your calendar, is going to make such a difference for you. So that is really important to notice. Where does delay and distraction show up in your day? Dissuasion is your internal dialogue around talking yourself out of something. I have a coaching client I'm working with right now that's building an incredible new business for herself, but we had to work for weeks on getting dissuasion out of her brain. She was also taking her business model idea, it's a really neat startup idea, to people around her who were dissuading her. Oh, that's a bad idea. Or, oh, if you had capital, or. No, stick to the vision. We'll figure out how to make it happen, right? But the vision and getting that thought into a form is step 1. So you don't want to go take, as you're working through this time management material, don't go and, work with people that are going to reinforce that you're bad with time or that don't believe in your ability to progress and evolve, right? Really important. DEF CON is also a very interesting block for when you're trying to achieve a big transformation. And what this is when you're right on the edge, right? It's a military term, but it's like when you're right on the edge of a big new experience for yourself, but you get really, really scared. So I also have a lot of coachees that come to me. They're sort of paralyzed at this moment because they are wanting to try something new or start a new business or start a new relationship, but they're just terrified to take the next steps. So I wanted you to notice these potential thoughts that might be coming up that lead to particular feelings and, of course, actions. This is really about getting into a paralytic zone or a procrastination zone that you got to really watch these tendencies as we're moving into the next phases. So let's keep going with our content on what design versus default is referring to. So if you are living a life of default, we're talking about the experience of feeling disorganized, feeling like your days are getting away with you, or getting up without a plan, or, for some of us, I certainly had this experience when I was married of being unhappy in a relationship but not doing much about it. So if you're in a work situation, a partnership, even my relationship with my children, I can often let it fall into default because I'm tired or I'm cranky or, my brain's saying I don't have enough time to deal with them today, and I'll let things slide. Homework, meal prep, etc., right? So where in your life are you in default? Remember, I'm setting you up. We're going to do the exercises in just a few minutes, but these are just getting your mind going. So where are you in default? Exercise, eating, are you eating healthy? Do you have your meals planned? Do you make time for date night with your partner, with yourself, self-care? All that can often fall into default very easily. We want to make sure these things are beautifully designed so that you can make sure you're getting your essentials created and completed for yourself, but then also still have time to do all the things that you would love and that really sustain you. Okay, so let's look at a little bit what it looks like when you're in default. I'm simply overloaded. It's my circumstances, not me, right? I have too many responsibilities. There's nothing I can do about it. Or like, I'm so very important. I have a lot I must do, right? I'm the center of my family. I've got a big, important job. All these excuse patterns are actually describing you, when we talk about agency, that you're not able to make a change in your life. You're talking about your life as if, in these circumstances, as if you don't have agency over them. I'm simply overloaded does not have you being accountable for, I say yes to too many things. It's not your circumstances, it's your choices within your context. If you have too many responsibilities, let's say you have 4 kids, let's say you're working 3 jobs, there's nothing I can do about it. There are things you can do about it. We may need to ask some powerful questions, such as what are more creative ways to solve the problem in front of you, but we may need to bring in some more resources, find a better paying job, get closer to home. There's all kinds of things you can do, but it's not just, I can't do anything about it. Like, a lot of people live in the land of default, that they just, this is my life, this is as good as it gets, right? So be careful, because you're victimizing yourself to your life when you speak like this. You're not putting the accountability on yourself, and this is part of these lies and mythologies. You've got to take a deep dive into your association with time and how you're thinking about it, okay? The other thing is that, a lot of people, and it's true, like, there's so many important things, and I'm so important, and I have to do all these things, and there's not one thing I can let go of, right? So again, you're going to have to make some priorities around life balance and looking at the different core domains of your life. Now, again, I go into deep work on this in the modules 2 and 3. In 2, we're going to look at the 4 domains of life: your family and relationships and community. We're going to look at your health and well-being, your vocation and creative expression, and also your time and money freedom. So we'll go into a lot more detail there later, but you need to know you can't do it all. You can't do it all well. So you're going to have to prioritize what are the most important elements of your life and your day, and what of all these different chaotic things coming at you are the most important in terms of leading to a life you would love living. What are these results you need to have? Okay, so this is a primer, and we're going to now move into thinking a little bit about why it's so important to have things well designed. And that's why I started this by saying that an articulated vision is essential. If you don't know where you're headed, if you don't have a blueprint for what you're trying to accomplish, it's going to be difficult to design days in alignment with where you're trying to go. You're going to tend to fall into default. Okay. Now, if you're having trouble with a specific vision for yourself, I can help you with that. It's a different workshop, a different, set of questions, etc. But right now, be bringing to mind a couple of the major goals that you want to achieve inside this vision for yourself that we're going to use as building blocks for the next steps. So the last slide, I was talking about the essential nature of having a vision. Let me show you why your daily activities have got to align with your vision consistently, right? You go back to the results formula and you think about your thoughts and your feelings are leading to particular actions that lead to results. And as you can see here, all of these components of your life are creating a presence and a way of associating with time and others, right? This is your life. So we want to make sure that the thoughts you have are aligning with your vision. The energy you have is at the right, we're going to call it, vibration, or, calibrated to one of positivity, forward motion, dynamism, right? You got to have that as you've got to be on your green growing edge. You need to be responding to longings and discontents that you have that are feeding you into a feeling of expansion. Anywhere that you are feeling contraction in your life right now, if I mention a husband, a wife, a partner, a child, a coworker, a boss, and you go, ugh, we need to make some adjustments, okay? Now, it's not going to all happen in one step. Happy to work with you in different programs to really get into that, because those are bigger transformations. But for now, just notice where you're feeling contractive versus expansive. And that's your laundry list where you've got to work. And why? Because anywhere that your energy is feeling drained, you're not feeling, vibrant and, in a forward movement sort of a relationship with time, it's going to affect your presence, right? So how you're showing up in your work, in your family, in your relationships, take a minute and think about where you go, oh God, it's not how I wanted to show up, right? Those are going to be really important markers here on this roadmap. And of course, as we've talked about, the thoughts and the feelings, if this stuff is not in order, then the activities are going to be showing up in a way that are not going to make a lot of sense. The other two pieces here are your sustained focus, right? You want to make sure that you are consistently recreating a schedule and design where you're keeping space for the things that you want to achieve, as well as the rejuvenation, regenerative time that you continue to get back into this energy and recalibrate your presence, that you're having enough awareness, you're noticing what you're noticing to be able to have that sustained thought feeling cycle that's going to really push to some new results. And that's the final slide here, is the results. So all these things need to be happening daily and in alignment with your vision for you to have the greatest results. So let's take a pause now. It's time for you to step into exercise 1 and move yourself through this experience. So you've got the hyperlink to the exercise in the original email that we sent you. And I want you to start to do a very deep dive assessment here of your relationship with time. You're going to see that I'm going to ask you quite a few questions that are going to put all this together for you. What's your energy? How is that impacting how you're showing up, right? For yourself, for others. And then I really want you to listen to what your excuses are. Think about all the places on your calendar or in your life where you have an excuse that you can't get something accomplished, that you're always running late, that you have blocks. Maybe you're trying to write a book. Maybe you've got things that you have to do for your boss, but there's like a block, right? There's that pile of laundry in the corner. There's that closet to clean out. Whatever the things are for you, maybe even wanting to go back to school. What is it that you want to do something, but you get stuck? Let's look at the excuses, okay? And then we're going to go on to look at how long you've been living in this energy to time. So you can really have this land for you. What's the cost, right? If you every day wake up and there's a closet that's kind of overflowing, or you've got a pile of stuff in the corner that needs to be cleaned up, it's taking energy away. Every day you wake up and go, oh my gosh, I still didn't do that. I don't get it done. You're telling yourself a story. You're living in a particular energy. So we want to shift that for you. So we want to really have that land for you, the cost, right? Or, for me, having my children grow up in an environment that's, not as clean and organized, I know that's going to impact their ability to be clean and organized as they get older. If I'm not creating time for self-care, I know it's having a physical impact on me, emotional impact. So these are the costs, and it'll really help you to go, oh yeah, I really need to make some shifts. You're also going to think about why this is working for you. If you are living in this particular relationship to time, there's something you're getting out of it. Now, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but is there a sense of martyrdom? Is there a sense of victimhood? Maybe you're not even aware that that's really the relationship you're having, right, with yourself. But it could be that it's a habit. You might have grown up in a family where your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles lived with life is so hard, everything you have to work hard, something that's like a schema, a paradigm about why it's hard. Or in my case, I love my mom dearly, but she tended to overload and have a lot going on all the time and a lot of piles of unfinished things that I have adapted, right? So I have to be very careful not to jump into too many projects all at once, but one thing at a time, and put some blocks in my calendar and ways to do things so that I don't have 17 projects going at once. So think a little bit about why you've made this relationship norm. And it might just be, I never thought about it, or wow, I'm having a real awakening here that I'm just doing the same pattern that I was raised in, or I do this because it's comfortable, right? So think about that and just really think about what's the cost to you personally. So that's where we're going to get started right now on this exercise, and then we'll keep going in just a minute. So pause your video and work through this, and then start again when you're ready. So I hope that exercise got some juices flowing. I'm hoping you've had a few epiphanies around what might be going on inside your mind that might be influencing your relationship to time. Let's start to unpack some of the common responses and see if these are landing for you as well, and see what we can do about them, right? Because we want to reframe. So, and then we'll move on to the next exercise. So let's look at some common beliefs about time. They're keeping you from your power, right? I'll have more time later. That is a belief. That is a myth that the future is holding some kind of an abundance of time while today is too constrained. One of my favorite jokes from the pandemic is you saw those memes that said, well, all this time I thought I just needed more time to clean out that room or do the thing. It's like, it turns out it's not needing more time, right? Like it's a mindset. The other thing is, we think we need to keep working harder and harder, right? It's an assumption that productivity is coming from sheer effort and hours of work rather than efficiency and planning. We can definitely design a beautiful schedule for you that you're not working harder. That is definitely true. And then I'm too busy to take a break, right? Most of us, I am the worst about it, is feeling that like stepping away is going to set you back. You're not going to be able to, do all the things you need to do if you create space for your self-care. It's really the opposite, and especially as you get older. I'm rounding 52 here, and you really do need to refuel your energy and focus. You can work so hard and for so long if you have to, if you do take these breaks. So we're going to, especially in the 4th module of this whole series, I do so much work with you on little power moves and short things to do during the day that keep you re-energized, even if you can't get to the gym or take the nap or take the full break. We'll talk about that. The other concept is that time is your enemy, that it's somehow working against you or creating, it's creating some kind of a feeling of dread, right? Instead of a partnership with time. So if you've arrived at this particular workshop with that sense of like, you just can't ever get it under control. And I know, because I was this person when I had small kids by myself. I was like, I just can't get this under control. And I often find myself feeling like, oh, I just need more time. I need more time. I have to remind myself that we all have 24 hours in a day. And there's something about the way I might be negotiating my day, setting up my day, that I'm not having the same results. But there's lots of people out there that are making millions of dollars while they're hanging out on their boats with their friends, so obviously we're not all going to jump to that level of transformation overnight, but it's worth noting that we all have the same amount of time, and it's about making a partnership with time, not feeling like it's an adversarial part of your life. So those are a few. Let's now look at 2 more. There's never enough of it, right? That scarcity mindset is keeping us feeling stressed and rushing in an endless chase for time. That is a really important component of renegotiating your relationship with time, is finding blocks in your day where no matter what, you're going to have the discipline to stop and move on to other things or take better care of yourself. And then, really negotiate this belief that there's never enough of it. And if you just keep going, you're going to finally get somewhere. That's a myth. And this notion that time's running out, right? It generates anxiety, especially as we move closer to deadlines, unfulfilled goals. Often you get so anxious that you can't finish, right? You're struggling with focus, and it can really lead to some very ineffective process. You're unable to relax, you can't sleep, right? It's really beginning to affect you. There's also time gets away from me, which is just this notion, we're back to that victimhood, right? You don't have agency over your time. You have the ability, right? Maybe you don't have the ability yet, but there's a capacity in you. If we can get you to engage with it, acknowledge it, that you can shift your habits, you can shift procrastination. You're not a victim to time. You don't need to feel resigned to not being able to accomplish what you want, but you're going to have to do the work to shift, right? And then this is my favorite because I'm the worst. It's like this just one more thing. I am always feeling like I can just squeeze a few more things in and that it's creating more time later on, but I really get into a cycle of just busyness and futzing, and it leaves little room for me to have any rest, right? If I'm in a room, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me just put that one thing away, let me just unload the dishes, etc. So it may feel like I'm trying to maximize productivity, and maybe in some ways there is more productivity, but I have to be careful with that tendency. That belief really can take away from peace, relaxation, focus, if it's just always looking for the next thing to do. So let's keep going, where we're going to look at now some paradigms that are actually very self-sabotaging. Those were some general relationships to how you think about time, how you are negotiating your days, with just core beliefs, like deep down beliefs that this is what time feels like to you. So really good to look at those, look at your exercises, and see if this has spurred any more insights for you around what may be just some core beliefs that you could begin to adjust. Okay, hang on to that for a minute while we look at the sabotage, the tendency. Here are killer paradigms, right? These are the things that keep us in a cycle of very negative relationship to time and really sabotaging ourselves. Okay, if you believe that you thrive under pressure, you are going to continue to live in a cycle of stress and last-minute scrambling. We'll talk in a minute about the anecdotes to these, but that is very killer paradigm. I'm just not disciplined, right? You're back to that victim-y space, like, oh, I just can't do anything about it. You're not in an agency. You are telling yourself a story based on a history. Somewhere along the way, someone told you were not disciplined. You may have been a teenager, and a loving parent who was trying to help you move into a better space of adulting, left you with a belief that you're not good at discipline or managing time, that somehow it's an innate part of you versus a skill that can be developed. If you want to become a disciplined person, we can do that. You just have to make a commitment to it, right? And then the other one here is, I need to be available to everyone all the time, right? This is the people pleaser. It's a story that you tell yourself. Many of us, if you grew up in a household where there weren't clear boundaries, there was addiction, alcoholism, a sick parent, a lot of things that create that people pleaser mentality, right? But you may have evolved as a human thinking that you have to be constantly accessible and doing all the things to prove your value, right? It makes it very hard to set boundaries. Another thing that happens, I think, as a mom, a lot of us fall into this. If I don't do it, no one will. I see it a lot in work settings, right? There's an assumption that no one else is going to do it as well, or take on particular task, not do it in the right way at the right time. So what happens is, if you hold that schema, then you're going to probably overwork yourself. It can also be known as like a type A personality. You're not able to delegate. You're always trying to do all the things, leading to burnout. It has a lot of impacts on the way that people relate to you as well, but that's for a different day. But it's really worth noticing these paradigms and how they're impacting you. And then these other two, I'm too creative, free-spirited to follow a schedule. Now, there's no question that we all have different learning styles and different ways that we can function in our days. Not everyone is going to work well with a very strict schedule. You're here with me because you're looking for more structure. So I'm going to assume that you're not someone that's probably falling into this category, but it may show up for you as, I don't want to schedule my weekends. I don't want to, like it's going to stifle my creativity if I organize my downtime, or if I put date night on the calendar, it's going to take away spontaneity. So the problem is that without structure, you can be scattered or overwhelmed. Okay. So just notice that one. And the last one is just not, I can't say no. Now, it's similar to the other one. This one's more of a fear of saying no, especially to people in authority. So this one really shows up in the work setting. So just be aware as I'm giving you some of these killer paradigms. Notice if you grew up in a family system that there were established beliefs around time. What showed up in your parents' relationship to time, and how do you see that on this exercise? So take a minute and just look at your exercise, add any of these paradigms here that might be influencing you, and take a pause, take a few breaths. A lot of learning, right? A lot of like, oh, interesting, right? I mean, when I did this work years ago, I was like, oh gosh, I got a lot of things going on with my belief system. So take a minute and let's keep going in just a sec. So here's the best part of our time together. We're going to move into exercise 2. Everything up until now is to help you really explore the mindset and some of the ways you're associating with your days. Let's now look at how to make some evolutions. So you're going to go ahead and open up your second exercise. It's embedded in the email you got, but I want you to start to think about a new design for yourself. Based on the things we've looked at, I want you to think about what you need to do. Question 1 is, how would you, if you had to evolve your relationship to time, what steps would you need to take? Just, kind of brainstorming, what would it look like? And then really, after you do that, what are all the things? Let's look at what your days would look like if you were living a life you loved. So just go for it here. It doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, if you had all the time and money and resources and the ability to redesign your day, what would it look like? Mine, I would have a yoga studio attached to my house. I would, have a recording studio for my recordings that I need to do. I would, have the ability to go and exercise before my children woke up, and, have a second closet, whatever it is, right? I'd have an extra refrigerator with glass doors, like, an industrial refrigerator, whatever the things are. What would your day look like, right? I'd have 15 minutes to meditate, right? There's a lot of things I'm not choosing to step into fully, but we'll look at some design days. But, I have a vision for what it could look like. But I have to constantly watch this notion of agency. How am I victimizing myself to my day, my time? What are the stories I'm telling myself? And mine is a issue of overload and being too focused on work results, etc. So there's always work. We're all growing and learning together. On the next page of this exercise, you're going to evolve your relationship to time further by thinking about the specifics. Okay, I want you to think about how many hours you would work. What would how many hours would you engage in creative activities? What would they be? What would feel rejuvenating, right? How many hours would you build into, relating with others? How much social time do you need? What does quality time look like? I have to schedule and remind myself to put quality time on my calendar every week with both children, right? It may seem pitiful, but like Wednesday nights are my time with my youngest child. And then I have a different day during the weekend that works with my other daughter. I've figured out over time, where the best times are for each of them. And it is a date with myself. They don't know it's on my calendar, but they are in a routine. They are not having to chase me down for quality time. I noticed a big shift in our relationship dynamic when they knew they had time with me, right? We also have some time, like I even put a note on my calendar. You'll see all this, and if you bought the series, when I look at design, that's called like quality time in the car with my child. it reminds me when I'm getting in the car, I'm looking at my calendar, oh, and I've got an alarm, time to go get my kids, so I'm not running late, right? When that timer goes off, it's time to stand up no matter what and get in the car, that it reminds me, don't use that as busy time. This is a quality moment. You've designed it. Don't fall into default, right? Okay, so you're going to look at that. So what are the relationship times? Like, what would you do for self-care, R&R? Think about it. If it's not like a daily, what would you do in a week? What would you do in a month, right? Like, what are the exercises that you would do? What would feel fun, expansive, life-giving? I don't want to hear, I have to get to the gym 3 days a week and I have to do this many squats. Like, what would you love, right? Let's just look at this for a minute from a visioning point of view. What feels expansive, right? Really life-giving, exciting. You're like, oh my God, I would love to have that, right? Oh, I'd love to go to the really expensive gym where they have those awesome steam showers, right? Whatever. Oh God, I'd love to have the money and the time to go to that really cool yoga studio, whatever it is for you. And then, how much time would you spend devoted to diet, right? Like meals, menus, etc. So for some of you, that might be more time out. Other people, it might be more, systematic menu planning if you're in a family or have responsibility for feeding other people, something like that. But let's look at all the different aspects. You may have some other things you're thinking about to add. This is your chance to put all that together. So we're beginning to put all this together now. You've done your 2 exercises. You're beginning to really, assess some areas where you might be holding very strong beliefs around time. So let's take this and ask yourself a few more questions to put all this together. And I want to show you how to reframe some of the challenging thoughts you may be having. Okay. So the exercises I've given you are to help you answer these questions for yourself. What's the real truth about your time? What insights are you having from these worksheets and listening to this workshop? Note that for yourself. Who is controlling your time? Are you in charge of controlling your time, or are you, and that's a design, right? Or are you in default? Well, I can't say no to my boss, or if I don't do this thing, I'll lose my job, or I have to please my children and do all the things they need, or if, I'll just do it all because no one else can do it as well as me. Those are all thoughts that are leaving you not in a powerfully designed, accountable, agency kind of way of looking at your time, right? And even though I'm not suggesting that everyone has all the time freedom that they would love, yet come work with me. I'll help you with that in different programs. But, for now, you need to understand what design elements you do have control over. And even if you've come to this workshop completely exasperated and it's like, Jenny, there's no way I can do all these things. I'm struggling so much. We can begin to parse out the design elements you do have control over. And I want you to keep asking yourself a very powerful question. Is there a different way to look at this problem? Is there a different solution than that, what I've been thinking about up until now? Take that out of, this is this time. Take some breaths. Work with this material when you're calm, the weekend. There are answers that your intuition can help you to know what needs to be evolved, but you got to slow down and stay away from the distraction and the dissuasions and all that chaos inside us and outside of us to really get clear on what do I have control over. And for instance, if you've got a boss that's running you ragged, it may be time to find a different job. If you're with a partner that, is taking up too much time or doesn't respect your needs, time to have some difficult conversations. I have an honest exchange conversation where we can help design that. But the point is, there are definitely opportunities here to make shifts if you are noticing what you're noticing. That was this whole workshop is about, and then really getting into acknowledging the agency and accountability you have towards your time. So there's some powerful things you may be noticing that might be holding you back as well. You might find that you're working or living in a culture, an organizational culture, or a family culture, or a relationship culture where your time and energy are not being valued in the same way that you value them. Okay? And that is really important. I want to teach you how to help feel empowered to have conversations about what you need. So much of work as a coach is about helping people to find their voice and then be able to act and use it, right? If you've done all this work up until now and you're not making action, then it's really just entertainment, right? We've got to put you into action to create the transformation. You may notice you don't know how to take care of yourself energetically. I'm going to tell you right now, honest truth, my mother did not know how to take care of herself. She worked herself ragged. She was a single mother as well. And so I adapted that workaholic, always on the go energy. And I really woke up and realized a couple of years ago, I didn't know how to take care of myself. Self-care felt like something that I felt guilty about it, or I felt like I couldn't schedule it, or I didn't want to spend the money. Slowing down and taking time for myself was a problem, right? Maybe you've never recognized the cost to yourself out some of these relationships to time. When you realize the energy of your presence, if you're frustrated, exhausted, overwhelmed, and how that's showing up on the people closest to you, you got to do that right now, okay? And if you're not sure, go ask people around you how your relationship to time is affecting their ability to access you and the quality of the relationship. And again, not thinking about how to take care of yourself in relationship to time, and this notion of redesigning your day and scheduling things that are important to you. I'll give you a perfect example. For me, if we don't have all of our meals, at least the basics of meals prepared, shop for and prepared by Sunday, we're going to live in a food desert all week in my house. One of the biggest problems I had was that in my mind, I had to lie to myself that I could do all that on a Sunday afternoon. That's not what's required. There needs to be menu planning. There needs to be discussions with family members. There needs to be shopping, and there needs to be unloading of groceries, and there needs to be cooking time. So I had to learn how to back everything up, where menus were being prepared on the weeknights when I had a few minutes to check in with kids, so that shopping could be done on Saturday, or delivery of groceries on Saturday, so I could wake up Sunday morning and do the food preparation. It's quiet, I'm happy, I've got my music in the kitchen, and then I'm enjoying it. I'm in the energy of expansion, right? Whereas if I'm shoving it all in, it's contractive and miserable. So, never thought about how to do this a different way, right? Again, I'm hoping you're noticing the particular beliefs around time that are sabotaging you. And then remembering again that, this notion that, and I really had to come to terms with this. My mom, I saw her as a child as someone who was very busy, but very important in her world. She owned a commercial real estate business. And I somehow along the way learned a lesson that being busy makes you very important. I saw other members of my family that were the center of their family universe, even stay-at-home moms, being all the things to all the people makes me a certain value or something, right? Same with being busy leading to success or wealth or love. So pause for a minute and just think about any of these really powerful associations you might still be holding on to. This is just the beginning for you in terms of really getting in touch with a lot of these thoughts. So this last section here, we're going to look at some old thoughts that are probably keeping you stuck. We've already gone over these, but I want you to now see how to reframe them. So look at these for a minute, and you can see we've got the overloaded, too many responsibilities. I'm so important. I thrive under pressure. I'm not disciplined. I need to be available. If I don't do it, no one will. I'm a creative spirit, or, I just can't say no. Let's look at these. How do we reframe these? So you've made some progress on your own worksheets about where you're doing this, but look at this. These are empowered thoughts. These are the kinds of thoughts that will help you to alter your relationship to time once and for all. So all these thoughts here are actually not the truth, right? It may feel like you're the truth, but if you'll remember one of the principles I asked you to bring to this workshop, which is that you have more power inside you to work with your thoughts, your feelings, and your discipline and your actions than everything going on around you. As long as you think that everything around you is the problem, this shift will not occur. So look at those questions and let's go back and look here. Instead of feeling like you don't have control, you're overloaded, I do have power over my schedule. I can design an easier life. I may need to put time on my calendar on Sundays to review my week and reorganize my week and put all this together. We do a lot of this in Module 3, but I can design an easier life. Okay? If you're thinking of too many responsibilities and it's out of your control, no, you need to look at your priorities and prune them back. That's what we do in Module 2. I'm going to take you through a prioritization exercise. It might be a little painful, but a little laborious, but you'll get to the bottom like, ooh, look at all these things I'm doing every week that I really don't need to be doing, right? Number 3, I'm important, I have a lot to do. These are just beliefs you've inherited along the way, and they really may be sabotaging time, freedom, space for other things, right? Number 4 is the thriving under pressure. It's an old thought, right? It is an outdated habit of procrastination, and I promise you, for most, I've got teenagers. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I think we all developed this in middle school and high school. So just notice any avoidance or procrastination. Now, ADHD, ADD, there's a lot, depression, there's a lot of things that can lead to procrastination and avoidance. And that's some deeper work, right? That's a deeper relationship with a coach or a therapist to really get underneath all that. But it is good to just notice this old thought may be habitual, right? If you just think you're undisciplined, it's an excuse, right? You've got a brat inside telling you this because it keeps you from having to do the things you may not want to do, right? But if you're serious about making changes, getting to a life you would love living, achieving some new results, you're going to have to leash. We call it leash that brat, right? And the other thing is thinking about the availability to everyone else. You've really got to take care of yourself first, right? Because they've got to save energy for you. Nobody else is going to take care of you. You may have the most loving partner in the world, but it's you and your association with yourself and your needs, and then designing what you need to take care of those needs. That is your job, okay? And you need to make sure that you are regenerating yourself, evolving yourself, so you're not giving it all away to others. If you are, that is your responsibility to make that adjustment, right? It may feel like it's other people sucking you dry. It is not. It is your ability to set up boundaries for yourself, right? The notion that, if I don't do this, no one else will. It's a sense of self-importance. Sorry to tell the truth, right? You insert yourself, you feel irreplaceable, you feel value, you feel secure. So notice that is what gives you a sense of security. Come up with some new ways to feel valued and secure, right? Mainly just believing it for yourself and acknowledging it for yourself instead of looking out here, looking for that. The other piece is this notion that, being in a designed schedule will be affecting your creativity. No. Beautifully designed schedules allow and ensure time for creativity, freedom, more R&R. I'll give you a quick anecdote. Arianna Huffington, I heard this years ago. She has an hour a day that's blocked on her calendar. She owns a huge media empire. She's a big influencer. She has an hour of her day that she can do anything she wants with. She can, take a bubble bath, read a book, have dinner, go have a cocktail, take a nap, stare off into space, whatever she wants to do, but it's like a sacred hour of her day. Wouldn't you love to have a day where you've designed that nobody touches it? I have to admit, I fall in and out of being able to keep my sacred space depending on what my beliefs are around work and, when I'm in a high growth phase. But you can do this. You can design yourself a date night, a date with yourself, etc. It will actually create a lot more consistency in doing things you would love. And the last one here is the, not being able to say no. I want you to really understand that you can, right? And you need to, so you can build time for the things that matter most to you. Because if you're on a rat race, right, a hamster wheel, and you're not ever building in time for your important work, your essential priorities, those things that on your deathbed, you're going to say, I'm so glad I made time to do these things. you're going to find yourself in trouble. You're going to find yourself burnt out or frustrated or resentful to those around you. So hope that has helped you to really think about some of those important thoughts that we need to get leashed and how to reframe them for creating a much more expansive relationship with time. So we're coming in for a landing here. I want to give you one more set of questions for even deeper exploration. So up until this stage in this workshop, we've really unpacked a lot of those kind of overlying thoughts. If you think about an onion, right, we're peeling back some layers of the onion. So some of these were just your basic associations with time. And then we're looking at some of the self-sabotaging dynamics. We've helped you to reframe some of these so you can think about a different basic association with time. But now let's look at a few more questions for deeper exploration. So this is where we're going to end in this particular module. But I want you to think about these things as you begin to think about ways to redesign your calendar. Now, remember, if you've bought the 4-part series, you're going to get a whole specific calendar redesign method in module 3. And don't worry, if you haven't bought it, I'm going to give you a discount code to go ahead and buy it. But for now, I want you to think about a couple of major questions. So these are the beginning of these essential questions for deeper exploration, and they're great. What activities or commitments are truly essential for your growth and happiness? I call these your must-haves, right? So we want to get clear on your must-haves every day and make sure they're on there, or maybe it's 3 times a week, whatever, but we got to figure out what are the priority things. And that can be everything from exercise, enough sleep, to quality time with children, self-care, work towards a graduate degree, whatever they are. They can be anything, but you got to get clear on your priorities. You're your own highest authority, right? What are the hidden costs of saying yes too often? You've got to get it under control. If you tend to say yes too often, it is eroding yourself. Yeah, it's eroding your energy because you're overcommitted and you're not able to recharge, and it leaves you a little bit frenetic and going too many different directions. So you've got to think about what is the cost. My perfect example in my own life is that I'm a person who always tends to take on too much. When I first was working with a coach years ago on this, we took 19 hours of extra work off my calendar when I went through the prioritization process that we'll do in depth in module 2 if you're going to continue with me. But, we were looking at things like, not only did my daughters go to Girl Scouts, but then I signed up to be 2 troop leaders, but then I signed up to lead the 17 troops for the school to organize, all the events throughout the year. The hidden cost of saying yes was that my girls had no idea that I was organizing Juliet Love's birthday and all these events and Flag Day and, the parades. They got nothing out of that. My ego got something out of that. I got to be the Girl Scout leader for the school. And, it was a great way to meet some people, but they were actually suffering as a result of me being overcommitted. So I had to step down from that position, and that was hard because I actually enjoyed it, but it was taking way too much time and energy away from my children. So I was able to look at the hidden cost and say, yes, there is a cost. Now, what would your ideal day look like if time wasn't a limitation? Envision what a perfect day would look like. We'll do this more in module 2, but imagine what a perfect day looks like, and then talk about how would it align with your core values. So, for instance, I'd love to have more quality time with my children. I'd probably build in an extra hour and a half at night of being able to just chill out on the couch, play a game, just be available to them in a relaxed manner, because a lot of the time I'm in the kitchen doing dishes and talking as I'm doing things. So that'd be an example. Or, I'd spend an hour at the gym and go to a gym with a sauna and relax for 30 minutes. And when I was in New York, I used to go to a gym where there was this amazing wet sauna, and it was just the most wonderful thing in the world. So I'd probably add that in, and I'd probably do a coffee out on my porch, and all the things that would give me a bit more sense of balance and calmness, time for calls with family. And then the last one is routines or boundaries that you could protect your most productive or restorative time. Okay, so what are the sustainable practices? Mine include setting alarms on my phone for things that I tend to neglect. I have accountability buddies that I work with. Like I have a really dear friend where we do every morning we report on what we're planning to do exercise wise, and then letting us, we report in once we've accomplished it. I have alarms set on Sundays to remind me to sit down and do my daily design. I have an alarm set that says, have you meal planned on Saturday, etc. And then I have something I'm listening to every morning. So that alarm goes off. My wake up alarm goes off, and then 15 minutes later, it's like, have you started this? So I have a lot of different ways that I protect myself to ensure I don't fall into the distraction, right? Because it is too easy to forget. So I can help you with those things. But let's go on to the next slide. These are some of the essentials, but there's another set. When do you feel most in flow, and how can you create more of that time? I'll give you an example for me. If I don't do my video recordings in the morning, I'm too tired, I'm distracted. Like there's no question my energy is best in the mornings. So what do? I design checking on email, chores, all things related to like business chores, etc. That goes in the afternoon as my energy is waning. But anything I'm creating, I try to do more of my coaching calls in the afternoon, but my creation time is in the morning. I'm clear, right? I may also notice that, my best time to exercise is definitely before lunch, either first thing in the morning or even taking one of my, power breaks mid-morning or, mid-afternoon. Because once I've got the kids, I know I'm not going to take care of my needs in the same way I would if I'm on my own, right? Okay, questions for deeper exploration number 2. What are you avoiding or postponing by filling up your schedule? I want you to identify any avoidance patterns that are tied to time. And I want you to take a hard look at this question, because if you're spending a lot of time worrying about other people's needs or emotional states, and again, for a lot of people that are in, parents, this is, what you're doing as a parent, but just notice where you're sending your energy and how it's keeping you from your work, right? If you have picked a partner or a boss or your children, some kind of a relationship where you're spending a lot of energy fixing the other person, you're actually avoiding or postponing your own work. And if you're filling your schedule up with the busy work, we've already talked about this, and not giving yourself enough time for reflection, rejuvenation, that's a red flag, right? You need to do some deeper work here to figure out why you're doing that. How could redefining success for yourself influence how you manage time? So this is about reflecting on whether your time management is aligning with your vision, right? Are you really in a game here where you're managing time in such a way that you're going to get where you really want to go? So in the next module, I'm going to work you through a systematic process with the vision building. It's really, it's a profound, deep, structured experience. So you can really come out of the other side of that with a clear sense of what you are trying to achieve. We're going to take you a few years out, do some visioning exercises, and really get clear. You don't have to do that. This workshop is a standalone as well, where you can really get clear on some of the ways in which you're, managing your time in alignment with your goals. Just think about your goals, but just notice if you're trying to get to a result and you're not making progress on it every day, and it's somewhere in your calendar to be making baby steps towards something, or at least a couple times a week, you're not going to get there, right? You don't get to just exercise once a week for power exercise and have the body of your dreams. You don't just eat well once a week and expect to have a really healthy relationship with your physical health, etc., right? You want to go get a new job, you need to build in time to build up your resume and start this, the research, and start to do the outreach. Everything is baby steps and consistency. Much of the work I do as a coach is helping people to get into that rhythm. So really reflect on whether the things you're doing with your day are aligning with your true goals. And if they're not, how we need to change those. So we're at the end. I want to go back. We've talked about all these aspects around making sure you know where you're headed, We're going to be talking in the future modules about the daily roadmap and how to put it together, but you've got what you need here to begin to think about how to rework your schedule, right? If this is the last time we connect. Keep working on immersing yourself in this learning and inside the things you need to do. Put a block on your calendar on Sundays for an hour that is your weekly design time. It will change your life, I promise. Look at what results you're trying to achieve, the vision you hold for yourself, and making sure there's time on your calendar to work on this. We're going to talk in the future, modules about personal agency, discipline, integrity to yourself, keeping yourself accountable. But for now, stay in a belief that you can do this, whether you keep working with me or not. You can do this, and you may not have all the ability yet, but the capacity is within you. I know that because you're here with a dream, you've invested in this program, and it means you're trying to evolve that green growing edge. Your life is spiraling, and you're, growing, and you're something here. So we just got to help you put the system in place, right? So stay committed to yourself, and especially to a dream. You're going to need some time to transform and push through old habits and thoughts, right? If it's hard, this is what transformation looks like, okay? So don't, keep going. So you need to stay committed to yourself and your dreams here so that you can really get on the other side of this. It's going to take some time to push through some, old habits. A lot of this is just renegotiating these old belief systems and then the habits that have formed, the actions, right? So you see that a lot of the work we've done today is noticing what you're noticing, right? Looking at the thoughts and the feelings and the action cycle. What are you doing throughout the day? Where are you self-sabotaging yourself? And then, of course, where can you transform the thoughts? So I promised I'd give you the results formula to help guide your actions. I'd help you to learn how to monitor, adjust your thoughts and emotions to stay in powerful action, and then to really stay in consistent action aligned with your dreams so that you can achieve results faster. We've done a real deep dive here into the design and the default experience, your common beliefs, where you're sabotaging, and working on how to reframe until you can design a beautiful, relationship with time. And you've got a schedule that is the same day that you would love to live, right? That is where we'll know that you've made, you're successful, and that will shift your energy. It's a chicken egg. You're shifting your energy in your relationship to your time, and then you're designing a new day. But every day that you've designed a powerful day for yourself, where you are a powerful author designing that day for yourself, the more you are living from the person of your dreams and the person that you're becoming. So I hope that you're taking away this notion that your relationship to your time is so important, because it is the relationship to your life. I hope you're identifying how your energy and the beliefs you're holding around time have a cost, both to you and the people around you, to your emotional and your physical health. It is so important to wake up in a day where you feel expansive and vibrant and high energy. If you're not, I can help. We need to work together more. But this is a beginning, right? This experience will help you to learn how to do that in other areas of life. And then remember that you need to really tell the truth about time. These exercises have been designed to help you have a heart-to-heart with yourself about where you might not be telling the full truth about how you're working with time, and whether you're wasting it or you're allowing yourself to live in a default space, a more of a victim space to time that's not getting you where you want to go. That longing, that discontent with time, until you really address it and get into this flow, right, where you're really feeling empowered, it's not going to shift. So you got to do this work. Okay. So, keep going over this workshop and be in touch if you need more help. I really hope that you walk away stepping into your power as this new designer self. You've really renegotiated your relationship to time. You're designing a beautiful new schedule for yourself and finding more and more time for your important work, your priorities. If you still need help, please do reach out to me via email. We can set up a 30-minute discovery session. You can sign up for those on the website under the contact form, the far right tab. And we'll see what else we can do. We do customized coaching program. We can figure out ways to make it affordable, do it in groups, do monthly payment plans. So come to me with the desire of what you would love to achieve, and then we figure out how to do it, right? That's our ethos as a company. If you have not bought the 4-part series to master your day, master your life, please notice that you've just done the renegotiating your relationship to time. This was really getting into the deeper thought processes, but the next stage is to build out your vision. The third module is all about a systematic design of your days. And then the fourth module is really putting together like mastering a daily formula. I'm going to show you how to create a flowy life day to day where you wake up with particular sets of questions. You work with your vision, about 5-minute process once you get good at it to really flow day to day. And it's like you're on autopilot. You're not trying to figure out what you're doing every day. You're just in a cycle. So I'd love to share all that with you. I love this work if you can't tell. And I'm here for you if you need any more support. And then just as another plug, from there, there's also a much deeper dive into what we call the quantum leap, your results. And that really takes you even further into a whole set of new disciplines and rules and deeper focus to really break through the deepest paradigms you might be holding around not being enough or not being capable of the things that you would love to achieve. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for your attention to this workshop, and we really look forward to continuing a relationship with you as a client. You'll also get a link to sign up for a newsletter, but stay in touch because we'll be releasing a lot of new content throughout the year, and we'd love to share it with you. Thanks so much.